On the night of April 3, 1995, Shekhar is 29, a rising tech star sitting in the back of a car on a rainy highway, heading home with an international partnership practically secured. His life is perfectly in order. Thousands of miles away, in the northeastern hills of India, a 28-year-old researcher named Eleanor stands alone. She is facing an ancient, impossibly overgrown apple orchard at night. These two people have never met. They share no connections. Yet they are unknowingly tied to the exact same minute, 11:52 p.m. Tragedy rarely announces itself. Sometimes the events that destroy a perfectly ordered life are born from secrets hidden in a forest thousands of miles away. To understand how those two lives collide, we have to look at the checkpoint property, an abandoned post-colonial estate on a misty, overgrown hillside. The ground here carries a specific historical trauma. This hillside was used to bury victims of a swift, indiscriminate epidemic. Because of the sheer volume of the deaths, they were buried in haste, without their proper ceremonial rites. Researchers call this shame transference mythology. It is the idea that physical ground can absorb and feed on the unspoken guilt of the living, turning a landscape into a repository for secrets. For 15 years, the property's original owner, Catherine Hargrove, stood at the edge of this slope and confessed her deepest regrets into the trees. She inadvertently fed the soil, causing the orchard canopy to grow aggressively over the burial site. In 1995, Eleanor arrives carrying her unspoken secret, the death of her sister. Her presence pushes the orchard's hunger to a critical, unstable mass. Unresolved historical pain does not simply fade. It compounds into an invisible structure, waiting for a catalyst to violently release. At 11:51 p.m., Eleanor decides to speak her sister's name aloud to the night. She refuses to feed the orchard's hunger with her silence. In an instant, the orchard is starved. Its dark power breaks. The unnamed dead are finally released from the soil. That release shoots an invisible, kinetic force across the country's geography. At exactly 11:52 p.m., it strikes Shekhar's car on the highway near Durgapur. He is plunged not into death, but into a 30-year coma. The exact moment a curse is broken and healed in one place can create a blast radius that destroys a life somewhere else. In the aftermath, Shekhar's partners attempt to keep his company, Novabridge, alive. They operate out of Kolkata, trying to fulfill the promises he made. They hold the line for years, but in late 2001, global investors pull out of emerging markets in the wake of a sudden financial collapse. The company is forced to close. While the company ends, the family begins a different process, the arithmetic of devotion. This is the quiet mathematics of surviving long-term tragedy through relentless repetition. This chart maps 30 years of endurance. We see Sita's 73 board meetings rising alongside Kiran's 360 hospital visits. Beneath this massive data, their children found connection in online games, building a parallel bond to the tragedy. Survival against long-term tragedy is found in the unglamorous math of simply showing up for the ones you love. On February 17, 2025, after 3 decades of silence, Shekhar's neural activity spikes. He opens his eyes. Sita and Shekhar lock eyes. In that moment, 30 years of meticulously kept notes and monthly hospital visits resolve into a shared presence. Karen shows Shekhar a photograph of the checkpoint property, the farmhouse on the misty hillside. Shekhar looks at it and immediately identifies it as home. The human mind can sometimes recognize the physical origin of its own tragedy and see it as the only logical place to start again. In 2026, the adult children arrive at the checkpoint property to physically reclaim the land. They form their own company, Where 90s. Ram and Lakshmi make a critical architectural decision. They clear the haunted orchard trees, but they leave the ancient, massive root system intact beneath the soil. They construct the advanced Where 90s Museum directly over the original trauma. The sleek structure rests precisely on the chaotic root system and burial ground. Its hardware maintains impossible stability, exceeding benchmarks, as if drawn power from the very ground it stabilized. Unspoken guilt can distort lives across time and space, but when matched by a devotion as relentless as the arithmetic that sustained it, That haunted ground becomes the foundation for a future that finally adds up.